down the Nexus. The new kings are alliance.
Welcome to the 2014 League of Legends World Championship. The action has shifted to Singapore for the second half of the group stage as 8 of the top teams from around the world prepare to fight for a seat in the quarterfinals and a shot at the Summoners Cup. We're currently looking at shots from the Singapore Expo as we jump to the LMQ team room as they get ready for the first match of the day. Their opponents in that one will be OMG. It's going to be a very big clash to kick off Group C. Welcome again to our World's Analyst Desk. My name is Trevor Quickshot Henry, and joining me on the desk for our first 3 matches today is our Players Club. Starting things off with Mitch Crepo Forceballs from Evil Geniuses. Next up is Neil Prali Hamad of Complexity. Third in line, Counterlogic Gaming's Peter Double of Peng. And of course, rounding out the table is Alberto Crumbs Renhifo from Team Dignitas. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're proud to tell you that every single match of the 2014 World Championship will be broadcast around the world in 16 different languages with help from 24 broadcast partners who are all working extremely hard to bring the excitement directly to you wherever you are in the globe. We will, of course, be looking at some of the broadcast partners, including the LPL team, who are providing coverage for our Chinese audience. Here's a look at the partners from OnGameNet in their dapper suits and vests, of course. And I think the team is looking ready. Here is Shox. So at the interview table, we'll be sending her to chat to some of the players later in the day. And, of course, our fantastic trio of shoutcasters, D-Man, Deficio, and Kobe in the middle, getting ready to cast the first 3 games. Hey guys, how are you doing? Right, now we're about to get ready for the opening ceremonies. Before we do, Singapore, it's a new venue, new 8 teams. What are we sort of looking forward to from these squads and this portion of the group stage, Crepo?
I just hope the crowd is as hype as it was in Taiwan, because it's been really good so far. We're visiting 3 different countries, and so far the crowd has been amazing. I know the Korean crowd is going to be amazing, so I'm just hoping like the bridge in between Singapore, I hope they're going to be amazing too. Going
to be some pressure on their shoulders. Yeah. The crowd yelling and screaming, I know it gets the players pumped up. You guys have had the experience of playing at some of the venues, you know, stateside. What does that do to your mentality and mindset, Crumbs, maybe?
I mean, just when you hear the crowd chant, for instance, you're going for a backdoor, and then they're like, go, 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 go. It can get you a little bit overhyped, though, that's for sure.
I do believe we are ready for the opening ceremony. So let's actually send it to the stage and check that out from the Singapore Expo.
This week, 8 teams have come from every corner of the globe to represent their regions as they fight to continue their quest for the Summoners Cup. Please help me in welcoming the teams that will be competing in the Singapore group stage of the 2014 League of Legends World Championship. Representing the North American League Championship Series and making their debut at the World Championships. LMQ, Ackerman, No Name, Xiaowei Zhao, Vasily, more. From China's League of Legends Pro League, a 2013 quarterfinalist making their second appearance at the World Championships, OMG, Going, Loveling, Cool, Sand, Dada 777, representing the European League Championship Series, the Season 1 World Champions, Fnatic, Soaz, Cyanide, Xpeke, Reckless, Yellow Star. From Korea's The Champions League, with the #1 seed, Samsung Blue, Acorn, Spirit, Dade, Deft, Heart. In Group D, from the International Wildcard, the first Brazilian team to qualify for the World Championship, Kaboom eSports, Lep, Danagorn, Tinones, Minerva, Dans. From Korea's The Champions, making their debut appearance at the World Championship, Najin White Shield, Save, Watch, Goon, Zephyr, Gorilla. From the North American LCS, making their second consecutive appearance at the World Championships, Cloud9, Balls, Meteos, High, Sneaky, Lemon Nation. The Summer Champions and #1 seed from the European LCS, making their World Championship debut, Alliance, Wicked, Shook, Froggen, Tabs, Nif. Ladies and gentlemen, your Singapore Group Stage challengers.
Getting ready for the Singapore group stage. I wonder how nerve-wracking it must be for those guys getting ready, knowing how important the games are coming up. We're actually going to take a look at the schedule to see how we kick off this first day of action in Singapore. And as we said earlier, it is going to be LMQ going up against their former teammates, OMG. We will see those teams a little bit later in the day when OMG will be taking on Korea's Samsung Blue. We've also got the very first match between Cloud9 and Alliance, which I'm very much looking forward to see how those teams perform. We will also see Korea's Najin White Shield, who are the Season 1 World, going up against the Season 1 World Champions Fnatic and newcomer Kaboom eSports from Brazil. They will all get their hands dirty at some point today on the Rift. Right, so those are teams fighting for 4 quarterfinal spots. I want to kick things off by asking you guys what we're looking forward to in this group stage, similar to what we did for the Taipei stage, but also with Prolly. What are you looking at from these 8 teams in this stage?
Might be kind of a surprise, but the mid laners in these 2 groups are probably the most impressive mid laners. And I think the 3 that are going to stand out the most are going to be Goong, Dade, and Froggen. Aside of those 3, those are going to be the mid laners that change the game. It's not going to be like, oh, how's the bot lane doing? It's going to be the mid lane will make the game or break the game. So I'm really excited about that.
And Crumbs, what are you looking forward to in this stage?
For me, it has to be we get to see Cloud9 and Alliance, two top dogs in the region, face off against what is known as a third weakest team in the Korean team in this tournament. So we get to see how these two teams perform and really stack up, and it gives you a little bit of an understanding as to how NA and EU could be doing against Korea.
Yeah, let alone against Koreans. I just want to see how they play against each other. I want to see how much has Cloud9 learned, how far has Alliance progressed, because it's been such a long time since we've seen them play. How is Balls and Wicked going to fight against each other? Has the Nidalee pick ban for Alliance been solved, or is that just going to be just a hole in their strategy? I mean, there's so much things to look forward to.
It's very exciting. Cloud9 and Alliance play later today, and then they both play Naj and Shield tomorrow.
Yep.
Finally, Doublet, what are you looking forward to?
Definitely Samsung Blue. They're in the group of death, right? So, I mean, you'd kind of think maybe there's a chance for an upset, but they are the #1 seed from Korea. So, considered probably the strongest team from Korea. Samsung White was really unchallenged in their group. EDG kind of put on a lackluster performance. So, I want to see if, I guess, somebody can find like a nick in their armor. You know, if somebody can put up a fight against Samsung Blue.
Well, we'll have to see if anybody can. We talked a lot about the regional power. We've actually taken a look at some of the win-loss ratios from Taipei, considering it is an international competition. Talk to me a little bit about these stats, guys. Champions, of course, 6-0. Those are, of course, the Korean team. Samsung White, we see two more of them. LPL sitting at the top of the table, 9-4. NALCS, 4-2 above EU. But just to defend EU, that's the third best team that had to play with a sub. Crumbs, what's your take?
I think the sample size is too small. We only saw one half of the group stage already, and we can't be making all these assumptions already.
I'll make one assumption. Korea is the best team.
Yeah, I was about to
I'll
say.
agree with you on that one, but I think it's unfair to give Kaboom already. Like, if you give Korea the assumption of 6-0, it's unfair for the other wildcard team to be 0-6.
Boom's going to win a game, Crumbs?
Yes.
Oh.
It's unfair to give them that a little bit.
So we've
0-6.
talked top and bottom. What about middle of the table? NALCS above EU LCS, but we're going to see the rest of the teams.
That's so ridiculous to say because TSM is the first seed from North America, and they were in a group with SK, who wasn't even playing with their second roster, and they're the third seed from Europe. So it's like really hard to say, oh yeah, NA is better than EU. It's actually, to me, 50-50. But
incredibly hard for me to say, you know?
Yeah.
NA above EU, seen it before.
So probably middle of the table as we get this next group stage. Do you think those numbers are going to shake up and change?
I do think EU will catch up a bit. But I'm still with American Pie, and NA will not succumb to the EU madness.
Yeah, I sincerely hope so. For you guys at home, we're going to be taking a look at this. I'd love for you to jump on Twitter and share your thoughts as well. And for more information about the likes of the teams, the players competing at Worlds, as well as some of the features and videos, head over to lolesports.com. You can also find a complete schedule where you can give a thumbs up to the teams that you think will win in each of the matchups. So submit your votes and we'll check in throughout the day. While you're on the schedule, take note that the games will start earlier on both Saturday and Sunday, 3 hours earlier than usual. So make sure you guys don't miss anything at all. And as we're talking about with that social media, we also want you guys to hit us up at LOL Esports. Send us some photos of how do you Worlds. Send us pictures of how you game face, or in other words, just see how you're enjoying the World Championship in the Singapore stage. Use that hashtag Worlds, once again at LOL Esports, to share experience throughout the entire show. Now, we do have to get to these games in just a moment or two, and we'll see how this is going to pan out. So we are going to jump over to a video feature in just a moment, and we're going to listen to the players taking us through.
Taipei stage was really cool. I really enjoyed watching the games. The caster desk, the crowd was amazing, especially when Taiwanese teams were playing there.
AHQ surprised me a lot. They did way better than expected.
所有人都认为 AHQ 不可能再胜 EDG。
ED 制5人拿着很大的经济优势推，然后 AHQ 没放弃，然后利用锤石就只是亮眼的就钩子，所以说赢得了这场比赛。
He gets hooked once again. This is real bad news once again. But where's the back of the monsoon comes out? They see that. Here comes Westar. And Name is down. They can take Baron, or they can say screw the Barons. Let's go for the win.
Royal Club vs TSM was pretty interesting for me because I didn't expect Royal Club to beat TSM.
Starwin, I guess, plays like amazingly on LAN, especially, I guess, Uzi just shows up.
Uzi looking for more kills. Exhaust will stop that from happening. Surely he shoots it. He knocks him away. Monsoon comes
I think it's fantastic hearing.
That was just simply amazing.
I completely agree, Joe. That was simply amazing. I like hearing from players who were in the other groups. who are potentially going to compete against these guys chiming in and talking about it.
Yeah, obviously they'll be scouting the metagame for sure, because this is the first time we see a lot of these teams in a long while, and they've all scrimmed against each other, so the power picks will filter through, and it just shows you like what the metagame is someone going to be, especially in terms of Janna. Like, we have Gorilla coming in hard, both are really good on Janna, so I'm looking forward to like see them play.
Yeah, you're totally right. I think the other pro players have like a way better realistic expectations. So when Ball says I was surprised to see TSM lose, I expect C9 to have scrimmed both teams and had to kind of gauge their power level. So they, I guess, were upset by or surprised by the results, and probably more so than we were.
It's a good line. I actually think we'll have to remember that for later. Guys, we are just about ready for our first match, where LMQ has traveled a very long way to take on former local rival OMG. It's the number 3 in North America versus the number 3 seed from China. And to be honest, neither of these teams performed particularly well in their regional playoffs. Really didn't stand up and shine. Let's start with LMQ and talk about how they performed throughout the year and, dropping the ball maybe towards the end of the summer split. Probably, what do you think?
I think the biggest thing was Xiao Zhao in regionals. Kind of surprised me. He didn't seem very proficient on Zed, which is huge in the meta right now. So I'm actually kind of worried to see how he'll do against Cool, who was bringing out the Ahri in their regionals and doing very well. So I think if Xiao Zhao hasn't picked up Zed by now, and he's kind of leaning towards the Orianna picks like every time, he's going to be thrown off, or they're going to be working with a disadvantage and pick a ban.
Yeah, LMQ is a team, we heard that they went to China to do some scrimming and practice for Worlds. They're going to be facing off against OMG, who of course attended Worlds last year. They took down SKT, T1K in the group stage. They fell in the quarterfinals to teammate Royal. OMG to me are the sort of stereotypical Chinese squad. They're very aggressive. They seem to look for team fights all the time. Crumbs, when you look at this matchup, LMQ's sort of been in the dark a little bit. What are you expecting from these squads?
I think that the matchups are actually going to come down to top lane, in that we saw Ackerman perform in NA really well when the meta was about mages, when he was playing Gragas, Lulu, and now with the introduction of Ryzen to the meta and Rumble, I'm expecting him to perform really well on that, and I know he's picked up Nidalee, so the top lane matchup, in my opinion, is going to be very action-packed, and there's probably going to be solo kills in it.
Double F, I got a question for you. LMQ, I feel like they struggled in playoffs. OMG seems to be a team that has proven they can tilt in the past. Is this going to be who can control the nerves better?
I think this is a really, really interesting game because both these teams are so different, right? So Xiao, to me, he's a very farm-oriented mid lane. He prioritizes farm, highest GP 10, or sorry, gold at 10 minutes. But Cool is a very bloody player. He loves to get kills. He loves to roam. He loves to play assassins. That's the exact opposite of Xiao. And at the same time, San versus Vasily, San's a very passive laner. He actually loses lane quite often. But Vasily, he's a super aggressive player. So it's a very big mismatch, I think, in style.
I feel like there is a lot of questions in this particular matchup. So with that in mind, Crepo, you haven't said too much. I want you to chime in on the most important thing. Who is your victor in this game and why?
I think OMG's gonna take it. I think Ugoen's better than Ackerman in the top lane. I think the only way LMQ can win this game is if their bot lane wins and Vasily just goes ham. Because otherwise, both the solo lane pairings for OMG is just gonna be too strong.
Prolly?
I definitely am going to go with OMG for this. I think they're going to bait the Orianna pick or bait a passive mid and be able to pick counters to it and kind of throw LMQ off their game.
Double lift?
I think OMG as well. They seem to be a more refined version of LMQ, and despite their bottom lane being really weak, their solo laners and jungle just pick it up.
Unanimous decision, Crumbs. Are you going OMG?
It's not going to be unanimous. I'm going to go with LMQ.
And why are you going LMQ?
Well, I think that we are underrating them. I think that we're basically funneling every opinion of both these teams solely on their playoff performance, and I think that the fact that LMQ was able to go to China and scrim kind of hidden away from everybody gives them an edge for this matchup.
Double lift, you're shaking your head a little bit. Why do you disagree?
Well, I don't know. Like, No Names to me has never been very good, and Loveland is just super good. I remember last year, just think about it, this guy brought a jungle Yorick. Everyone's like, wow, he's amazing. He's probably the best Chinese jungler. He's back. It's the same guy, same roster. So, I don't know. No Name, I feel like he had such a lackluster performance at playoffs, and the meta just really exposed him to be really weak to invades, aggressive mid plays, stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out for LMQ. I'm sorry.
I just really hope Dada 7-7 has like stepped up his game, because that might be like the one weak point for that team.
Well, I think we're going to find out. Let's take a look how you guys at home have been voting over at lolesports.com. You predicted that 64% of you are siding with OMG, so a little less than the percentage here on the analyst desk. We'll see if the team returning to Worlds will end up picking up the win. Let's head it over to the caster desk for the first game here in Singapore.